Hi, good morning. Happy Monday. Happy 4th of July. If things look different in the background, it is because I am coming to you from the guest bedroom of my parents' home in South Florida, which, believe it or not, is actually cooler than Southwest Georgia. So this week, you will be getting going on your research. So I wanted to do a quick video for you that will introduce you to some concepts of the process of doing a research paper. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to just go through the process. And yeah, this is not what you want to be looking at quite yet. Bear with me while I pull up the file. Okay, so the key to a research paper is letting and trusting in the process and keeping yourself organized as you work through the process. So this week, you're going to be in the earlier steps of the research paper, looking for sources. Most of you have not yet done your topic proposal, so you've got to do that first, right? You've got to get a sense of your topic and maybe do a little preliminary reading. Actually, you're required to do a little preliminary researching and reading so that you can think about your thesis and your research questions. And then this week, you're moving into finding your sources. And then as soon as you've gotten that taken care of and created the annotated bibliography, you can begin to move along in the process. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's take a quick look at the 10 steps to a research paper draft. You've got to select the topic, narrow the focus, write a working thesis, write your research questions. Those first four are where you are as you create your research paper topic proposal. That topic proposal assignment is those first four steps, and you've got to take those carefully and slowly before you move on to looking for sources. Okay, so the research questions that you will create, you will use to help you find sources. Step 5 is identifying sources. You're going to put them in a list organized alphabetically. You will evaluate those sources. You will take notes, organize your notes, create a rough outline, and then draft your paper. Please keep in mind, like with all writing, it would be really great if, it was just boom, step 1, 2, 3, 4, but very often you have to go back to an earlier step in the process. For example, if you realize you just don't have enough sources because some of the sources give you the same information, so you need to go back and find more sources, or you need to take more notes, et cetera, you kind of have to go back. Very often your thesis is going to change as you begin to do research. You're going to figure out, oh, that's not what I want to argue, or, oh, this sounds more interesting. Let me research this, right? So kind of keep yourself flexible a little bit to, as you discover more about your topic, to go in a different direction, all right? Organization and willing to trust the process. Keep that in mind. These are really key to the process. So steps 1 and 2. When you go through your topic proposal, I've pretty much given you, to save you time, I've given you some sample thesis ideas to work with or use or adapt. The link I sent you by email will also give you other suggestions for how you might research or what you might research about your piece of literature. I often find it interesting to look at the work from a historical point of view. So, for example, if you choose one of the short stories about war, you might be looking into how that piece of literature fits into the anti-war movement, or how does it reflect the war itself that it deals with. So if you're writing about how to tell a true war story, for example, you might be looking into the Vietnam War and this author, and he was a Vietnam War veteran, Tim O'Brien. So how does his experience maybe help you understand the work? Anyway, that assignment is going to work you through this step 1 and 2 process. And then if I see problems with what you've put in your topic proposal, I will alert you and we can, kind of narrow your topic or clarify your topic a little bit, but you got to do that first, right? Start with, your opinion. Okay. Do you think that The Flowers by Alice Walker, if you're familiar with her book or the movie that was based on the book, The Color Purple, do you think that, it would be interesting to compare them? Do you think that there might be some similarities, or maybe you feel like she's a feminist writer because she's kind of always focused on women? Do you want to maybe look into whether The Flowers is feminist or The Flowers reflects something about Alice Walker's life? But don't, start with what you think your opinion is, and then don't be afraid to change your mind as you do research. Then you're going to write research questions, again, as part of your topic proposal using what, why, when, how, and where. You don't want to ask yes or no questions, because it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get you any details. Like asking your child, if you have a child, how was school? Was it a good day at school? Did you have a good day? You'll get a yeah or a no, and that's it. They'll just shut up, right? So you want to ask, well, how was your day? What did you do today? What did you learn today? Then you start to get a little bit of information. Don't worry about the opposition. This is geared more towards, English 1 comp papers where you're arguing over a controversial issue. But do write at least 5 questions and keep a hold of them so that you can refer to them as you work. Okay, after your topic proposal, you're going to identify sources and you're going to create an annotated bibliography. And then we're moving into these next steps in the paper. Your annotated bibliography assignment asks for 5 sources. I suggest, and this is a suggestion, right? There's no way I'm going to know, but it's a strong suggestion. I suggest that when you're looking for sources, you find 10. Try to find 10. The reason why is some of them you're not going to like, and you're going to end up not using them. But at least you can get, or should be able to get, 5 for your annotated bibliography, and then, hopefully the amount that you need for your paper. So, skim your sources, find 5 that are going to be good for your annotated bibliography. Always look back at the paper assignment details for how many sources do I need and what kind of sources do I need. So when you get started looking for sources, make sure that you open a Word or Google document on your desktop. That will become your annotated bibliography, and eventually it will become your works cited list. Here's where being organized and proactive helps. Okay. When you find your source, you're going to create a citation in MLA format. It's going to be in this document on your computer. Most databases, all databases in Galileo are going to create citations for you. And I will create a video later this week that will it will show you a little bit about how to use Galileo. But always look for the citation, create the citation, copy and paste it into your Word document. If you do that, you won't have to do it again. You won't have to struggle to try to create a source citation. It should be, the first thing you do, and then you'll email the source to yourself or download it if it's offered to you full text and you're using your own computer, and then save it. Be careful to save stuff so that you don't have to go hunting for it later. Don't read the source yet. You can do that later. You're just trying to find 10 sources and keep hold of them. Giving you time to read this slide. Once you have your sources and you've created an annotated bibliography, and you've submitted it to me and I've looked it over, et cetera, et cetera. Once you've got your annotated bibliography, it's time to start working with your sources and taking notes. You might already have a method that works for you. That's fine, but maybe my suggestion will sound useful to you, and maybe you'll try it. Just remember that organizing is key to working effectively, not wasting time, and it's also key to avoiding plagiarism. Plagiarism, as you know by this point, is when you use the work, the ideas, or the words of someone else and you don't give them credit for it. That's going to equal a 0 on your assignment, and it's also going to mean a referral to the dean for an academic honesty violation. So you want to avoid it at all costs. Please keep in mind that highlighting your sources, that's not note-taking. It might be useful, okay, but it's not note-taking. Copying and pasting from your sources, if you're not careful, okay, it can result in plagiarism, which is going to result in that failing grade. Work with one source at a time. Just start with the first one, open it up or print it out and start working with it. I like to use note cards. I'm old school. You might not. You might want to use paper or you might want to use your laptop, but stay organized however you do. Use quotation marks in your notes, whether they're copied and pasted or handwritten or typed. Make sure that you put any exact language from a source in quotation marks in your notes. Don't look at the source when you're paraphrasing or summarizing. So read a bit, look, use your research questions to guide you. Let's say one of your questions is, how did this author's life influence her work? So, you do some reading, you find some information about Kate Chopin of The Story of an Hour. You find some information about her marriage. It's very interesting, by the way. Her life very much correlates to her work. So you find some information about her marriage and you read a paragraph, right? And then you look away from that and you try to sum it up in your own words. And then you check it to make sure it's accurate. Okay? It's a good way to avoid plagiarism. If you accidentally use exact language that's in the source because you have such a good memory, put it in quotation marks. Okay? Here's a sample note. Please notice how the note doesn't just contain information, but it tells me what the source is and what page that information is found on, if there is a page, right? Some sources have paging, some sources do not. But at a minimum, you need to know what source this information came from. Everything you'll need, right, for an in-text citation should be in your notes. If you do this, I swear to you, the paper is so easy to write. It almost writes itself because all of the information that you need is in your notes. So on the top of your notes, you might write, you definitely have to write the source, something that will help you know what source this is. I usually put, because I'm lazy, I give my sources a number in the list, right? And so I just put a 1 at the top of my note so I know what it was, just the first source number 1. You might want to go with the author's last name, right? Or the first word or words of the title, okay? Whatever works for you. Then at the top, some kind of label. What research question is this note going to answer? Or what's the topic, right? What's in this note? Is it Chopin marriage? Okay. Is it Hemingway's war experience? Okay. And then the note itself, it's a summary, paraphrase, quotations. If it's a quotation, it is in quotation marks and it says who is speaking this quote. Is it the author of the source, or, is it an interview with with Alice Walker and it's actually Walker's words? Got to know that. Okay. And then the page number on which that information is is found, if you have a page number. After you're done taking notes, it's time to organize. Sometimes, well, I know this is true for me and it may be true for you. Sometimes I fall in love with just the process of researching. I've got a really interesting topic and I'm just having a great time reading about it and taking notes. I know that might sound weird, But you can spend too much time researching. But remember, you really don't have a lot of time to write this paper. So you want to, give yourself a deadline. Say, I will be finished taking notes by this day so that I can start drafting. Okay. Before you start drafting, organize your notes using the labels you've written. So if you've got, a bunch of notes on this certain topic, gather them together or move them on the computer so that they're, following one another. Use the labels that you've got to, you know, organize your notes. And then I suggest creating a bit of an outline. It could just be, just a really skeleton outline by hand, looking at your topics, what do you have a lot of information on? Maybe you want to save that for later in your paper. What do you have that would make a great story or quote to open the paper, right? That would go, at the beginning. Don't ignore this sample outline textbook here because that's for a different textbook. So there are samples of how to organize in your textbook, and you can look back at them. You can look at sample outlines online. Some people love outlines, some people don't need them. So I'm going to leave that one up to you. I asked for you to create an outline for your last assignment. You may or may not find it helpful for this one. I find for a research paper, an outline helps me know where I'm beginning, know the order of my ideas, and helps me to get started on the draft. When you sit down to start drafting from your notes, make sure that you just create those in-text citations immediately so that you don't forget them. Some people, for some reason, wait until later to put in text citations, and I find that leads to problems. That leads to plagiarism. That is, an accident. So it's best to use your notes that already has your citation information there as you're drafting. Include your quotation marks or your summaries and your citations. Finally, try to avoid panicking, okay? Try to make yourself a schedule of when you want to be done, finding your sources. When do you want to be done? Making your notes. When do you want to be finished with a first draft? Hopefully it's a little bit before the due date. But maybe it's, that morning, so you could look it over. And then try to remember to trust the process. Do not procrastinate. And this is coming from the queen of procrastination. I always tell my students, I wrote my 75-page master's thesis in 2 weeks. I didn't need to do that. And it was kind of miserable. Okay? Don't be like me. Don't wait till the last minute. Try to stay organized. Keep backup copies of everything. This is so important. I cannot stress this enough. Save the sources safely, right? The great thing about Andrew College is you all have a Google account. You have a Google Drive. So you can save things both to the Google Drive and to the hard drive of your computer. When you save to the cloud, which Google Drive is, it lives there, okay? And you can find it from any computer. So if you drop your computer explodes, it just fails and dies. You can go to another computer and find all of your work. Take the time to save slowly and carefully so that you are not stuck and in a panic. I really hope this is helpful. And you can go back to it anytime you like. Happy researching. See you online.